The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is the Players Lounge, broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now your hosts, Barry Church, Danny McCray, and Newy Scruggs.
All right, it's Friday. It is time for the Players Lounge, where we tell it like it is. We're brought to you by Hotels.com. I'm Newy Scruggs, longtime Cowboys reporter, joined by Barry Church, former Dallas Cowboys safety. Our other running back buddy, Danny McCray, is out. Danny will rejoin us back in May. He's working on a project right now. But we're taking you now all the way up to the draft. We are less than 2 weeks away where the Dallas Cowboys have the 10th overall pick. Church, how we doing, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. It's a little gloomy outside today. It's a tad bit gloomy. Kind of looks like Gotham City a little bit with this kind of drizzly rain throughout the whole day. But hey, we're on a Players Lounge, so hey, wouldn't rather be anywhere else. Let's get it cracking, dude.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question that I asked our producer, Chris Beam, here. And is there something about this draft process for the Cowboys you're hearing that bugs you? Chris said it was that, hey, people say trade out of 10. What's yours?
The thing that bugs me is, and I told you this a long time when we first started doing this podcast, it's that for some reason, some off-the-wall reason, no matter how bad we perform on the defensive side of the ball, no matter how bad it goes, there always seems to be that guy on the offensive side in the draft that is just like, oh, this is so intriguing. We can't go past this. This guy, if he falls in our laps, we got to take him. It happened last year with CeeDee Lamb. And this year coming around, it seems like it's happening with Kyle Pitts. I mean, like we talked about last week, I know he's an intriguing prospect. He could be, one of the best all time at his position if he puts in the work on the field. But like I said last week, we got tons and tons of needs on the defensive side of the ball. And for some reason, all we can talk about in the Cowboys Nation is getting this Kyle Pitts or getting this offensive left tackle or something like that. And that just kind of irks me because I'm like, man, do people still realize we need defenses to win a championship and get far in the playoffs? We need a champ, or we need a defense that can match our offensive power. And right now, we don't have it. We don't have depth pieces on any line of defense you go about. We need depth pieces on the interior line. We need it at the linebacker position, and we for sure need it in the secondaries. So for me, I just don't get all the offensive talk, but hey, to each his own.
Now, obviously, if you listen to our Dallas Cowboys podcast network, and we have so many different opinions on this, and you have some who really do want offense. But for me, as I'm looking at the draft process and looking at things that I'm seeing in the media, more and more, we're not even seeing Kyle Pitts mock to the Cowboys at 10. We're now really seeing Kyle Pitts' fall off at about 6. That's about the landing spot that I'm looking for him right now. So, honestly, Barry, while people can dream about a Kyle Pitts, I keep coming to this. And I say, if Kyle Pitts is everything that people in the draft process are saying he is, this kid doesn't go to 10. No way he gets to 10. And the teams that are in front of the Cowboys clearly have a Kyle Pitts need where they could plug him in and do just fine. Cincinnati could plug him in there and do just fine. The Miami Dolphins and their head coach, Brian Flores. Brian Flores was in New England. He was coaching linebackers for a while in New England, so he was there with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, and he's seen how Bill Belichick has drafted tight ends highly during his tenure there. So I can see Miami being a landing spot. Detroit, Dan Campbell's a former tight end. I could see that young man landing there. Carolina is ahead of the Dallas Cowboys. I could see that. So there's spots where I just see Kyle Pitts being able to land before the Cowboys even get there. The Atlanta Falcons at 4 is a spot. If you talk about how high could he go, the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan, some of Matt Ryan's best years were when he had Tony Gonzalez there. So there's that ability if the Falcons decide that they don't want to go to take a quarterback at 4 and want to stay there. So that's why I just believe when you bring up Kyle Pitts, here's my thing. I'm not going to get mad anymore about it because I don't see the guy being there instead.
And look, I hope you're right, Newy. I hope you are right. I think the only one I would disagree with is Cincinnati because we all know they need help on that offensive line. They got to get somebody to protect Joe Burrow. He took a beating. A severe beating last year. So I think they'll go the offensive line route. But all those other teams you named are for sure candidates to go ahead and get Kyle Pitts. And for me, I hope it happens. I hope it happens. I hope he's off the board before we even get to number 10 because that intrigue, that him just being there, I think it might be a little bit too much pressure for the front office up there in Dallas, and they might just go ahead and snag him and say, you know what? Hey, we can build on the strength. We can make our offense the 99 Rams again, and we can go at it like that. So for me, I hope and I pray he's off the board early so we don't even get into that discussion of, hey, we might be all right with Kyle Pitts. I mean, our secondary we got now, I mean, shoot, we might be able to throw Kyle Pitts in there. So for me, I just hope he's off the board. I hope you are right, Newy. But if he's there at 10, man, I can see us pulling the trigger on him. I can see it happening.
All right, here's the dream scenario, okay, when you talk about the draft. In my mind, the top 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks, all right? So
without a doubt.
Okay, so we've got those 3 teams taking quarterbacks, meaning Jacksonville, the Jets, 49ers. Falcons start at 4. I don't think the Falcons will take quarterback at 4, but they trade to somebody who does. So 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. 5, Cincinnati takes Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. They need to protect the investment, Joe Burrow. Riley Reif is not the guy I want out there left tackle if I'm Cincinnati. And then at 6, the Miami Dolphins take Kyle Pitts. And now you got a tight end, you got a guy that Tua Tagovailoa can throw to, and you can go get another receiver later on. You don't need to take Jamar Chase. So that, to me, if that happens, man, you're in the clear. You're in the clear.
You don't think they would go Devontae Smith route? You know, seeing they were old buddies at Alabama and set all types of marks. You don't think they would go that route instead of the Pitts route? I'm talking about the Dolphins.
Yeah, and for me, when I look at the Dolphins, I go back and I talk about the head coach and the head coach understanding and seeing what a difference a Gronkowski and a Aaron Hernandez made in some of their championship runs with New England. So, and what do you have the opportunity to do? What's easier? To get another receiver who can help you and add that with a tight end? Or you take the receiver here and then you're trying to find another tight end later on. I think you can, and Barry, you understand this because you played the game. A lot of receivers they just do different things. I go back to CeeDee Lamb where people are like, well, you know what? Kyle Pitts could fall because CeeDee Lamb fell. And I say there's a difference when you're talking about these tight ends and a guy like Kyle Pitts is the tight end versus CeeDee Lamb. Receivers are like ice cream, man. There's a whole lot of different flavors. The first receiver off the board was Henry Ruggs. None of us thought Henry Ruggs would be the first guy off the board, but you know what? He was the flavor John Gruden wanted. John Gruden is thinking to himself,
Speed.
I want Tyreek Hill. I want Tyreek Hill 2.0.
Wants to stretch that field, yeah.
So when we look at these receivers, they all fit differently. And actually, it was something that my buddy Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com, and Chris used to draft for the Tennessee Titans, and he spoke about how receivers are just different. Do you want a guy who's X, Y, Z? You know, and what kind of system are you running? So while everyone pretty much said CeeDee Lamb was the number 1 ranked wide receiver last year, he wasn't the first, second, guy taking it all. It comes down to what do you want in your offense. John Gruden didn't see CeeDee Lamb as the fit for his offense as much as he saw Henry Ruggs. There's different receivers. Jamar Chase, all right? Jamar Chase is this is a big old dude right here. But there may be a team that says, we already have somebody similar to him. We don't want it. We want a different guy. We want a speed guy. All right? Take Philadelphia, for instance. Philly's got Jalen Reagor. This is a fast kid. So Philly...
He's a dude. He's a burner.
Yeah. Hey, we would love to have a Jamar Chase next to the speed guy. So that's why I say it just comes down into just different flavors. But overall, when you talk about the tight end and Kyle Pitts, well, that's the guy. You know, that's the guy. Yeah. He's the vanilla. He's a beautiful French vanilla in terms of you can make him match with anything. He's going to match with anything.
He's a Swiss Army knife. I mean, like you said, he can line up at the inline tight end position and work against linebackers and safeties. You can line him up at the slot position, and he can outrun nickels and kind of body nickels out of there. And then you can line him up out wide. I mean, we've seen what he can do to corners at the highest level, at the college level. So for me, like you said, this guy's a Swiss Army knife, and I can see where you can go ahead and get him instead of going to get a receiver, because he can do so many more things than just your receiver. Because your receiver, you're either locked into the slot or you're locked into the outside receiver. But with him, you can put him at H-back, you can put him at tight end, you can put him at slot or outside receiver. So for me, Kyle Pitts is like that Swiss Army knife. He's very versatile. And like I said before earlier, I hope he gets off the board, because I'm telling you, if he drops down to 10, all those things I mentioned, they're just going to keep accumulating in these guys' brains, and they're going to be like, man, you know what? They're going to talk themselves into this Kyle Pitts pick. So for me, I hope he's off the board, man. I hope you're right, and the Miami Dolphins, Carolina, somebody takes him off the board before he gets a chance to maybe fall into Jerry's lap.
All right, let me just ask this question to you real quick. Don't dig deep, just name. Who are the top 4 receivers in your mind in the National Football League? And not any particular, but just give me when you think of your top 4 guys, who are they?
Off the top of my head, top 4 guys, I'm going Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Hopkins, and maybe Stephon Diggs. That's just off the top of my head without, thinking too much into it.
Yeah, perfect. And this is what I was just going to say. 2 of those, and you had the same ones that I had at the top of my head. 2 of them were first-round picks, and the other 2 were not. So you can find guys later on, as far as wide receivers, who fit exactly what you want. So to me, that's why I come back to this whole Kyle Pitts deal. If I'm a team like Miami and I've got a receiver need, I'll go ahead and take Kyle Pitts. And I could figure out the other receivers and get somebody a little bit later. I got a better shot of finding a Devontae Adams or Stephon Diggs in round 2 than I do a Kyle Pitts in round 2 or 3 later on. That's kind of my saying. That's why I believe Kyle Pitts didn't fall to 10.
Yeah, like you said, I'm right there with you. I don't think he'll fall to 10 because, like you said, you got the Dolphins right there. You got the Carolina Panthers, who are in need of kind of an injection of juice on that offensive side of the ball. I mean, I know they got Christian McCaffrey out there, and Robbie Anderson, but you need that third piece in there. So I think there's definitely teams out there that can go ahead and get him and scoop him up before the Dallas Cowboys have a chance to get there. So I'm not really worried about him falling. But to get back to your original question, that just kind of irked me a little bit. Just right. how fans and how teams are just kind of, let's kick the can on the defense. We'll find depth later on in the draft and defensive side of the ball. And then when we play bad and when we're historically bad on the defensive side, you want to get all on the players' case and say, we don't have any talent. Well, we had a chance to add that talent defensively in the draft, and we chose to go offense. So that's the kind of thing that kind of ticks me a little bit. But hey, man, like I said, I'm hoping we go defense, Newy. That's all I got to do. I got to hope we go defense.
Here's what irks me about the draft process and just listening to fans is the willingness to just say, hey, trade out of 10. And this is what I'm thinking right now. Now, obviously, come draft day, we're going to find out how we've been lied to a lot, okay? We're going to find out how we've been lied to a lot. Because every draft day, we see surprises. Nobody had Mitchell Trubisky being traded up and going number 2 in the draft, but the Bears kept it under wraps. I remember when Dallas had the number 4 pick and ended up taking Ezekiel Elliott, the number 3 pick was Joey Bosa, and no one was talking about Joey Bosa to the Chargers. But Tom Telesco, their GM, had eyed on Bosa all day long, and that was going to be the guy. So we're going to see some things that happen. But for me, the fact that the Cowboys will most likely be able to take a blue chip player, defensive player at 10, and people want to get out of that, I find maddening, because you've earned this 10th pick overall in the draft. You've earned it. You hope not to be there again. So take a piece and try to get a blue chip piece. I think about Tyron Smith, number 9 overall for the Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott, number 4 overall for the Cowboys. They took guys who fit the profile coming out of college. They were very good football players. They were worth the pick. And the results from both players, in my opinion, made the pick worth it. These guys, Ezekiel Elliott, becoming a rushing leader. You've got an all-decade team for Tyron Smith. I mean, that's what you hope to get out of the 10th pick. And right now, I keep seeing Patrick Surtain mocked to the Cowboys at 10. And if the Cowboys can get that player at 10, don't trade down. Just sit right there and take a player whose dad played the National Football League, a guy who stepped on the campus at Tuscaloosa, Alabama to play for Nick Saban and started from day one. Nick Saban is a defensive backs coach. That's what he played at Kent State. I mean, that's his specialty. So you know he was coached hard. He was an All-American player. He was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He was a better player at Alabama than Trevon Diggs, and many people say Trevon Diggs is the best corner right now on the Dallas Cowboys. To me, this is not a hard thing to do. It's really simple. To me, and I don't know about you, Barry, because you played this league, so you tell me, if they did it in college, they had the opportunity to do it in the pros. If they didn't do it in college, then I'm going to wonder how much can they really do it in the pros. This guy's resume is as clean to me as it gets to be a player in this league worth.
Oh, yeah. And you know how I felt about this guy since day one. I mean, he's been I need this guy at number 10 since we knew the draft slot we were going to get. So I've been on the train as far as Surtain since the beginning. For me, though, when it comes down, and I agree with you on those blue chip prospects, because look at what we added to our offense. Like you said, Ezekiel Elliott, he was a blue chip guy. Last time we were able to pick that high, we picked him, and look what he's become. I mean, he was the engine for our offense for 3-4 years. I mean, now it's starting to, pass the torch. I'm not sure if that's a good idea that we give the full reins to Dak Prescott, but this guy at the beginning, he was the engine that could. He was the engine that got us rolling, and Tyron Smith and all those blue chip prospects on the offensive side of the ball made us into one of those offensive powerhouses. So just imagine if we were to take that same philosophy to the defensive side of the ball. And like you said, started adding these blue chip prospects to it. I think it'll round our defense around, and we could become a better team. I mean, we got to be much better than we were last year with that historically bad defense. So I'm right there with you, Newy. I push a little bit back on that trade back scenario, and I'm sure we'll get into that later on in the show. If our two guys aren't there in the draft, then maybe we do trade back a little bit, but we'll discuss that. But overall, I'm with you. I think we need. Go ahead.
That's definitely where I was going to get into next. So if Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn aren't there, what do? We'll do that after the break. But I want to say this one thing before we go to break. When you start talking about the cost of NFL players, quarterbacks cost you, edge rushers cost you, cornerbacks cost you. I mean, when you start talking about premium spots in order to get top-notch players, the cost is high in free agency. So you need to get them in the draft. That is why I am looking at a corner. A corner is going to cost you. We saw what Miami paid to take Byron Jones away from the Cowboys. Made him the highest paid corner in the game. And with all due respect, we like Byron as a player. We think he's an outstanding man. But Byron is not the best corner in the National Football League. But he got paid the highest price because these players are in demand. And that's something I hope Cowboy fans start to realize for those who've been pushing back against the corner is, hey, look, if you get a blue chip one, look at what Jalen Ramsey's been. You look at what Jalen Ramsey's been in his time, and you played with him at Jacksonville and the Rams, man, this guy's been all that. You look at his resume, okay? I challenge anybody. Look at Jalen's resume coming out of Florida State. You go match that same resume up with Patrick Surtain. You're talking about guys who both started from the day they got on campus, guys who were part of national championship teams and the best cornerback on those defenses here. There's a whole lot where these guys match up, man. And now Jalen's a bigger player, but I'm just talking about the resume overall. I'm not saying he's going to be Jalen Ramsey, but when Jalen Ramsey came out, he checked off so many boxes that said, yeah, this is what we want. And I feel like Surtain does that same thing, Church. I feel like he does.
And as a corner that has those abilities, those lockdown abilities, it's not all about interceptions. I mean, I know a lot of fans out there, they go, oh, he doesn't get the ball that much. He doesn't take the ball away. But when you have a corner out there that can literally shut down their top receiver or shut down a half of a field, that makes the rest of the defense that much easier, especially as a safety. You don't even have to worry about that side. And as a defensive coordinator like Dan Quinn, if you got a guy who's shut down out there like that, you can do so many more things with your defense. You can blitz more. You can have help to other needs on the defensive side of the ball. So to me, it's not all about just interceptions and can he get his hands on the ball. Is he a guy that can go out there and shut down? And I think that's what Surtain can be, especially with that pedigree with his dad playing in the league, playing at Alabama under Nick Saban. And we know what those guys can do in the secondary. So I just think he has that pedigree and he can come down and not only be a playmaker on the ball, but also shut down a half of a field and make the defense so much easier. And I think we'll see dividends if we're able to get him in the 10th.
So we sit up here, we run off this great resume for Surtain, and guess what? They're going to be teams right before the Cowboys who see the same thing, and maybe they take him off the board. Maybe J.C. Horn gets taken off the board. So what did the Cowboys do? We'll discuss that next. What do the Cowboys do if the top two corners in this draft are gone? Where do they stay at 10? Do they take another player? Let's dive into that on the flip side of the Players Lounge right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
Adjust your cleats, adjust your pads, even adjust your helmet, but seriously, don't adjust your underwear because once it's seen, it cannot be unseen. Tommy John's fabric keeps you cool and dry on the field or in the stands, and now they even have loungewear. Yeah, loungewear. Shop underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 15% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
Is your family a Cowboys family? Have you taken holiday photos at the Star? Was your wedding theme blue and silver? Have you convinced your kids them is spelled with a D? If so, every game day feels like a vacation to you, so treat it like one. Whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com. Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the Players Lounge.
Dallas Cowboys football and Dallas Cowboys cheerleader dance youth camps are back this spring and summer for athletes and dancers of all skill levels. Save $25 with early bird pricing now through May 10th. Register today at DallasCowboys.com/academy. All right, we are back right here on the Players Lounge. We are in our SWBC Mortgage Home Studios. I'm Newy Scruggs, longtime Cowboys reporter, joined by former Dallas Cowboys safety Barry Church. Our other running buddy, Danny McCray, is off. He'll be back joining us in May. So, Church, we're discussing the draft, which is less than 2 weeks away.
Yes, sir.
If J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain are gone at 10 and you're the Dallas Cowboys, and you also, oh, by the way, don't have the option to take Kyle Pitts or Penei Sewell, these four picks are gone. What do you do if you're the Cowboys? Do you stay at 10? Do you trade down?
If it's up to me, if I was being paid to make these type of decisions for the Dallas Cowboys and it was solely on me, I'm trading back, Newy. I'm trading back and seeing if I can get some more depth pieces for this defense. Now, I say that because that guy, that blue chip that we were talking about, if him and Horn, because I consider Horn a blue chip as well, if Horn and Surtain aren't there, I don't see any other defensive standout unless you're maybe leaning towards Micah Parsons out of Penn State, that fast linebacker. If you're sold on him, maybe. But to me, I'm not sold on any blue chip prospect other than those guys in the top 10. Now, if we were later on picking, sure, but at the top 10, I don't see a defensive lineman out there that kind of blows my socks away. Like I said, if you feel like that Penn State linebacker can do it, but he doesn't do it for me. And anybody else in the secondary, I just don't see. I feel like we can get in later rounds. So for me, I would trade back, get some more, get maybe a second or third, and I would get depth pieces because we need them, especially on the interior part of the defensive line. I feel like we can get great, solid depth pieces back there because right now we're working with Tristan Hill, who's coming off of an ACL, and Neville Gallimore. And I'm high on Neville Gallimore. I think he can be a stud on that defensive tackle, but I need a bigger sample size. And Tristan Hill, we don't know what we're getting back from that ACL. And then you go to the second line of the defense, which is the linebackers, and we have LVE, we got Jalen Smith, but, those guys are injury prone. Those guys have missed time, especially LVE in the recent years. So for me, I think we need a depth piece there as well. And in the secondary, man, if we can't get those blue chip prospects, we're going to have to load up somehow, some way, because the secondary we have now with Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, those guys, I don't feel like they can hold up back there. They need a more veteran presence back there. So for me, I'm trading back and I'm trying to get more depth for this defense. But overall, I got to hope my guys are there. I got to hope they're there, because those guys are, to me, cornerstone pieces of the defense that sorely needs it.
Okay, so and under this scenario, and what I'm thinking, so if you get to 10 and you've got a J.C. Horn gone, and you've got a Patrick Surtain gone, and Penei Sewell and Kyle Pitts are gone, this means most likely there should be a quarterback falling at this point in time. And maybe that quarterback is Justin Fields. Maybe it's the kid Trey Lance from North Dakota State. And from the buzz that's being out there, like I said, we're lied to a lot. I always have to remember this. We're lied to a lot at this time. If Washington wants to come up, if Chicago wants to come up, if New England wants to come up, if they're willing to come up to 10 to get this quarterback, would you do it? Do you trade them? Because that's to get the ammunition you're talking about, okay? The ammunition you're talking about. You want more pieces. The best way to get it, and where people will pay you the most money in a ransom, is for a quarterback.
Okay. And if the quarterback falls, are you still there? Am I still there?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, if the let's just say Fields falls. And we know from what the buzz we've been hearing, New England is they high on Fields, and they could trade up and get somebody. And if Fields is there at 10, I could see New England making a choice to go up there and get him. And then we would slide back to 15 and add some pieces later on in the round. I'm all for that. I'm all for that if those two corners are not available. Because the guy out of Virginia, Farley, or Virginia Tech, he would have been one of my blue chip guys, but he's coming off of back surgery. And we're already fielding a team that's full of guys who've had surgeries and injury prone and all that stuff. So we don't want to bring a guy who's yet to do an NFL snap already, who had surgery. We don't want to bring him in, especially that high. So for me, if those two guys aren't there, I got to trade back. I got to get more depth for this defense, because as we know, this team has been injury prone the last couple years, and we're adding another game, a 17th game. So for me, you got to need more pieces over there. I would trade back, especially if New England's ready to go, because that's only 5 more picks back. So I'd be willing to trade back for sure.
So, kind of wrapping this up in conclusion, we believe the Cowboys should stay at 10 if they have the ability to get themselves one of these two cornerback prospects. And
without a doubt.
If the cornerback prospects are gone, and there is all of a sudden 4 quarterbacks taken and a 5th quarterback in terms of Justin Fields is available, or Lance is available, and you've got a team that's desperate to get him, you go ahead and possibly look in entertaining of going down, because in your mind, you don't feel that there's another blue chip player. Now, Micah Parsons is a guy that a lot of people think is worthy of a top 10 pick. I mean, not my cup. I'm not big on him like that, but there are people who are, and people who do this process and say he is. And you're out on him as well. So you and I are like, nah, Parsons isn't that guy. Go ahead and move out of the 10. If you do not have a blue chip guy, in your opinion, that you can write out and say, man, this dude, we're going to slide him into the lineup day one. Because if the Cowboys draft Micah Parsons, does he start day one? Is he a pencil-in starter?
Does he start? And then you got the shortened off season and all that stuff. So, is he going to be ready? Is he going to be ready to start? So, that's the thing with me. And Newy, I'm going to ask you this. Do you feel like there's, besides the corners we named that early in the draft, do you see anybody out there that's like, you know what, he's a must? If those guys aren't on the board, it's okay, because we got this guy right here in the chamber waiting. So, do you see anybody else out there like that?
I'm glad you asked that, because this is something I was talking to my buddy Chris Landry about. And here's a guy who worked for Belichick and Saban in Cleveland, ran the combine, and he said drafted for Tennessee for years. And he says, look for the fit. Do not look at the draft rankings. So the unfortunate thing for us is we haven't had an ability to sit down and talk to Dan Quinn to say, what is it you want? Okay, Mike McCarthy told us, hey, he feels like you can't have enough 6'5", 270-pound guys up front on the D-line. He feels like you can't have. So we understand what he's thinking. And so that's what I would really love to know. Hey, Dan Quinn, what fits for you? Is Micah Parsons your Vic Beasley? Is there a safety out here that reminds you of DeMonte KZ and Earl Woods? Do you have somebody on the D-line that reminds you of Cliff Averill? Is there somebody that's drafted D-line that fits your defense the way Michael Bennett did? That Super Bowl 48 team that went up to MetLife Field and laid a whooping on Peyton Manning, who was the MVP of the league that year with 55 touchdown passes. That's what I'd like to know, because, Church, so much of that is about how these things work. When you were in Jacksonville, you guys had an excellent defense, but the pieces fit. And that's what matters so much. Do the players fit the scheme? And we can say all day long, like Mike McCarthy talked about, well, it's players over scheme. We didn't see that last year. But if we're going to get the best out of players, you need to know how to put them in the right position. And so that's the thing I talk about so much about these quote-unquote rankings. Go back to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was number one on a whole lot of folks' boards. But the Raiders said Henry Ruggs is the best fit for us and what we want to do. And then when it came time for the Denver Broncos to draft, they took Jerry Jeudy over CeeDee Lamb because they said, this guy fits exactly what we want to do. And so there you had CeeDee Lamb falling to the Cowboys. So that's why I just kind of look at, I even go back to Atlanta. Here's Atlanta, one pick ahead of the Dallas Cowboys, and they said, we've got Julio Jones, we've got Calvin Ridley, we don't need CeeDee Lamb. Even though, like everyone, they had a first-round grade on CeeDee Lamb. Okay, this guy was a first-round graded player. And every year, there's not 32 first-round dudes. There may be 18 to 19, sometimes even to 21 true first-round grades. But it comes down to the fit of the football team. People can sit up here all day long and bag on Mac Jones. But when you start to look at Kyle Shanahan, and Chris Sims has done a good job of this, they were teammates at Texas, and Chris works for NBC Sports, and he says Mac Jones fits the kind of player that Kyle and his dad Mike Shanahan, the kind of quarterback they like. So we got to.
Man, are you high on Mac Jones? Are you as high as a lot of these people are? I can't understand that one at all.
Wait. Let me. Okay, you're not hearing me. What am I talking about? I'm saying look for the fit. Don't look at the draft ranking.
The fit.
So
I understand, I understand that. But Mac, do we think Mac fits that West Coast system like that? I don't know. Is there a big enough sample size to say he's the guy?
All right, and so great. I'm glad. Does he fit it? Is he better coming out of school? Is he better than Kirk Cousins was at Michigan State? Yeah. Coming out of school, was he better than Jimmy Garoppolo was when Jimmy was playing at Eastern Illinois? Yeah.
But look who he was throwing. Look who he was throwing to. He had a track team out there. How many first rounders he got? He got Devontae Smith, Waddle, Najee Harris. He gonna have 2 first-round offensive linemen around him. This guy's played with a lot of talent. He's played with a lot, and we've seen that. Look at Tua. Tua came from that same thing. Everybody was Tua was the greatest.
I agree.
And then he played with a lesser talented team. And we'll see.
I agree with you, but this comes down to, what does it always come? It comes down to what we just talked about. It's the fit. It's what they want. Shanahan Shanahan was the guy who was going to wait on Kirk Cousins to come to him, and then Kirk Cousins signed that big old deal in Minnesota. I wouldn't have been signing him at all. That's not my thing. Matt Ryan. Yeah. Matt Ryan won an MVP with Kyle Shanahan. So they have a fit, okay? At the end of the day, it's like your buddies. Hey, man, you and your buddies, if you're both single and you're going out to on the town, you're going to have a type of female you like. You're going to say, hey, man, I like this type. This is my type right here. Okay, it's the same with quarterbacks. Same with wide receivers. Yeah. So while Mac Jones is not your type and not my type, what have we seen? It's Kyle Shanahan's type, Kyle Shanahan might be that guy that says, man, he might be that guy that says, dude, I like those redheads with curly hair. Okay, that's his type. That's his type.
Different strokes for different folks.
And he's doing the drafting, so he's going to go get his type. All right, look, for all day long, man, I was about Deshaun Watson coming out. I was like, man, that's the guy. Not Mahomes, not Trubisky. I was like, Deshaun Watson, that's the guy. But guess what? NFL evaluators didn't feel that way. He went third. Then here it is, the Cleveland Browns, who had 2 shots. They had the 1st and the 12th pick. Okay, they had 2 shots at Watson and didn't want the guy. In fact, they traded out of 12 to Houston because they didn't think he was that good, and they thought Deshaun Kaiser of Notre Dame was just a good player. They were wrong, but that's what I keep coming back to. Don't look at the rankings, look at the fits and what people want. That's why we see on draft days so many like, what? What are they doing? I mean, Henry Ruggs, why would you take Henry Ruggs when he was not the best wide receiver for the Alabama Crimson Tide? But guess what? John Gruden thought he was. Now, I thought John Gruden was wrong. We saw the record. But, hey, that's what this thing comes. So, Barry, that's why I say, man, don't look at the rankings. Don't look at what you like, because it's going to be a team that says this guy fits what we do and what we want, and you shake your head.
Yeah. And sometimes go ahead.
I'm going to give you an example where I was 100% wrong. It was a year that the Cowboys, I thought, they were right there, able to take Sharif Floyd, defensive tackle. I think he was at Florida State, but he was coming out of school, big guy they could put up front. I said, man, take that guy. They traded out. Cowboys traded out. Minnesota takes him, and then they trade in late, I think it was 31 in the draft, 30 or 31. They took Travis Frederick. I'm like, why are you taking a center? What are you doing? The Cowboys were right. And Travis Frederick fit what they wanted to do and had an outstanding career. So that's an example where I was 100% wrong. The Cowboys knew what their fit and what they needed. And so as we talk about this process, you and I, man, we're both on the same thing. Mac Jones ain't special. Mac Jones was a guy who was a part of a system. You had a great defense that got you the football. You had nothing but an offensive line that was good, a running back that was good, and for years now you've had first-round wide receivers. How good is the guy? But we're not the guy drafted. The 49ers are the people who passed on Mahomes and Watson.
And Watson.
Okay?
Yeah, this is true.
Right, so make sure you remember that, okay? When people sit up here all day long and say, man, I don't get it. No, you should get it. They didn't think Mahomes or Watson was worthy. They took Solomon Thomas from Coppell, Texas, who was at Stanford. That's who they took. They traded down because the Bears traded with them. So they traded down, took a defensive tackle, and then they bypassed Mahomes and Watson. So if they're doing that, would you really be surprised if they said, we don't want Justin Fields?
I wouldn't be that surprised. I'll tell you what, I will be dumbfounded if they go ahead and get Mac Jones at number 3. I'll be like, man, what in the world? And maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this is the fit and he ends up fitting exactly what the 49ers want. But right now, just looking, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe that's why I'm not a GM or in that position. But to me, I just don't see it. I don't see him being that 3rd overall pick. And it comes back to when you're drafting a philosophy. Do you draft need or do you draft what you want? And that's, to me, that's the dilemma we're in right now. I think a lot of players, they want that cow piss. They want that flashy new toy. But we're in need of a lot more other things, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I guess it all just comes down to philosophy and what you believe in as far as drafting process for your team.
Look, quarterbacks are an interesting lot. And I go back to the situation you were in Jacksonville. Here's Jacksonville with Blake Bortles. At this point in time, we all know Blake Bortles is not that guy, even though he was taken 3rd overall. Here are the Jaguars with the 4th overall pick, and they decide they want to take Leonard Fournette, the running back, and they did not want Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. They didn't do it. And here they are with the 1st pick in the draft trying to get back and figure out this quarterback position, so they'll end up taking Trevor Lawrence. But this becomes where teams, man, you shouldn't be surprised when you see so many mistakes. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, Barry. What do we do? We see constant mistakes by people who are supposed to be the best evaluators in the world at the most critical position in the league. They mess up time and time again. When you see a Christian Ponder go in the 1st round, you see a Jake Locker go in the 1st round. I mean, really? But that Blaine Gabbert, that's what we see, man.
And that's why half of this league, literally like 50 or 45% of this league is made up of undrafted guys. Undrafted guys who got passed up like myself. And that's why the league is made up of all, because guys or teams, they miss out on players. And then players go undrafted and they end up proving everybody wrong. But that's why you see mistakes are made year in and year out in this NFL draft. So
going back to the Cowboys, to circle back here. If they don't take a cornerback in round number 1, must they take one in rounds 2, 3? And we haven't even addressed the safety position yet. So, Church, how do you view the first and second days, because round 1 is on a Thursday, okay? That's round 1, it's all one day. Rounds 2 and 3 are going to be on Friday. So how do you feel about what the Cowboys do to address this defense?
Well, I think they have to address the secondary. If they don't do it in round 1, it has to be in 2 or 3. You got to get yourself and I'm not saying you can't find, like you said, undrafted wise. Look at Malcolm Butler. He's had a solid career as a corner, and he was undrafted. So I'm not saying you can't find corners later on in a draft. But for me, I think we got to address it early on. I think you get your most bang for your buck if you address it early on. And right now, with the secondary we have, right now, what is it? Brown, Jordan Lewis, Awuzie's gone, and at the safeties, I think we got Keanu Neal and DeMonte KZ right now, and Keanu Neal is playing basically linebacker. Yeah, so we got to address. He's a linebacker, and I don't even want him to step back and be that every down safety, because I think he'll get exposed that way. And I think the best way to treat him is in that third down package, having him blitzing, having him do all that stuff near the line of scrimmage, because he's a phenomenal box safety, but I don't know if he can do both on the deep end as well. But overall, we have got to address that secondary. I don't think the guys we have there right now will be able to hold up against the players that are coming in here. I mean, look at the division overall. You see Washington, they brought in a Fitzpatrick. They brought in a Samuel to help stretch the field. I mean, you look at New York, they brought in a Kenny Golladay to go along with Shepard and those boys and Darius Slayton over there. So these offenses in our league, even though we were in obviously one of the worst divisions in the National Football League, the offenses are actually getting better. So I don't think the secondary we have right now can hold up against those guys down in and down out. So we got to address that need. This is a passing league. 90% of offenses come out in 11 personnel. And for those who don't know that, that's 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers. So we got to have guys, we got to have cover guys out there that can cover those receivers out there. So for me, we have got to address this in the draft. We already missed out on free agency. I mean, I'm sure there might be some guys we can get later on if injuries happen, but overall, I think we got to address that secondary, because this is a passing league, and the offenses in our division have gotten a lot better, and we need to match that.
Yeah, Philadelphia's got Jalen Reagor, and while he had a disappointing season to Eagle fans, I don't think they're looking at the fact that the offensive line was terrible all season long and they had quarterback issues. But if they take a Jalen Waddle at 12 or another wide receiver, you're talking about a speed guy and another and Reagor and another potential speed guy, right? I mean, you can have some serious issues. Not to mention the Cowboys do face the Kansas City Chiefs this year. They do face Tom Brady. I mean, he's got some weapons. They do face quarterback Justin Herbert. They got to go against Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. You got to face Carolina, that's got Robbie Anderson out there, and then they got DJ. What's his name?
DJ Moore.
The kid out DJ Moore. I mean, so there's some serious wide receivers. They got Minnesota. Oh, by the way, I know they beat Minnesota last year, but still, you've got Jefferson, who's going to be an improved player in year number 2. You got Thielen. So yes, the Cowboys' defensive backfield needs to improve. They also got to improve that D-line. Hey, let's take a break here. When we come back, a guy that you and I had come to the conclusion needed to be gone is gone. And is Julian Edelman really a Hall of Famer? Let's dive into that next on the Players Lounge with Newy, Scruggs, and Barry Church right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
How great would it be to travel to watch the Cowboys win on another team's turf? Pretty great. But honestly, just watching the game from anywhere but your house would be fun. Even a hotel bar with some guy named Phil from St. Louis who thinks Oakland still has a team. So whether you're traveling to the game or watching from your favorite vacation spot, book a place to stay on Hotels.com, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Adjust your cleats, Adjust your pads, even adjust your helmet, but seriously, don't adjust your underwear because once it's seen, it cannot be unseen. Tommy John's fabric keeps you cool and dry on the field or in the stands, and now they even have loungewear. Yeah, loungewear. Shop underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 15% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Back to the Players Lounge.
All right, Cowboys fans, enter the free to play draft pick challenge, all right, presented by DraftKings for a chance to win 2 2021 season tickets. Submit your picks before the draft starts on April 29th. You must be 21 years of age or older to play. To see these official rules and enter now, go to DallasCowboys.com/draft pick challenge. Okay. Aldon Smith is a guy that early on in the year, that first month, I was like, yeah, what a great job by the Cowboys, man. This guy is somebody you need to think about signing long term. You know, give him a multi-year deal. Then we saw the last 3 months, and you didn't see Aldon Smith. And right here on the Players Lounge podcast, brought to you by Hotels.com, I said, no, he needs to go. He signed with the Seattle Seahawks on a one-year deal. And I'm going to tell you right now, Barry Church, I was smiling. I was like, yeah. Yeah, gone, okay? No, that experience came and went.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I was right there with you, man. I had a little grin on my face when I read that news, and nothing against him, man. He has an amazing story. I mean, 5 years out of the league, you battled back from all the demons you had, and you came back. You were able to come back to the league, and in the first 5 games, I mean, I think he registered like 3 sacks or something like that in the first couple of games, and I was right there with you. I'm like, man, this dude got the juice. Instead of missing 5 years, it looked like he only missed 5 games. But then, as we see, man, the NFL season, it's a long and grueling season. And by week 8 or 9, I mean, we were both asking each other, I mean, did Aldon Smith even dress?
Right.
Was he dressing today? Like, did he make a play out there? And it just seemed like he was just taking up space and taking up snaps from guys like Randy Gregory or Bradley and Nye that have some upside to him, that can actually go out there and produce. So for me, I mean, it was a great story for Aldon Smith to come in here and do what he did. But overall, I think the Cowboys made the right move and to move on from him, because I think he was blocking the progress of a Randy Gregory who seemed to come alive towards the end of the season. And I would like to see what he can do with a full season under his belt, with a full off season under his belt, and get going. And with guys like Aldon Smith there, it was just blocking that progress. So I'm happy he was able to go out there and get another job with the Seattle Seahawks, but I'm also happy he was sent along his way, because I don't think it was that great of a fit. Just a better story.
Yeah, and there's, the one thing about doing this job is you find things offline. You're a former player, and there's certain things that you guys will tell us that are off the record. And so there's some off the record things that took place last year in which you need to move on from Aldon Smith. And one of the things, and this is why I hate that we can't talk to Dan Quinn, I never thought he fit Dan Quinn's scheme. It just didn't seem to be the fit of it. And so he moves on. And so maybe Seattle, which, a lot of the concepts that Dan Quinn is going to bring, they run in Seattle. Maybe Pete's got a way he'll use him, but I just think they needed to move off on him. They tried. It didn't work. Jim Tomsula, D-line coach, is all gone. Let's just move off that. Just say, hey, grand opening, grand closing, and you move on from there. So Aldon Smith gone. I'm more than happy with that. So Julian Edelman retired this week, and immediately people start. I mean, this is the thing now. So a guy retires, and people want to say, is he a Hall of Famer? LaMarcus Aldridge retired yesterday. People are like, hey, he's a Hall of Famer. Somebody said he's a Hall of Famer, and Damian Lillard said he retired his number, and I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, he was a good player and played 15 NBA seasons and made the All-Star team 7 times. But when I think about the greatest basketball players of all time, is LaMarcus Aldridge that? Is Julian Edelman one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, that we need to put him in Canton and say, kids, we can't tell the story of the National Football League without Julian Edelman? You can. Yes, you can. Yeah. I can tell the story. It was Tom Brady, kids. Okay, Wes Welker was a really good wide receiver, okay? Wes Welker was that slot guy, and then after Wes Welker, they dumped him. They brought in Danny Amendola. They brought in Julian Edelman. We never heard anything from Wes Welker once he left. He didn't really do much. He went to New England. I mean, he went to Denver and played on a Super Bowl team and got beat by Seattle. And Danny Amendola didn't really do much. I mean, Julian Edelman's a nice player, but he's a product of the system, man.
He's definitely a product of the system. But I got to get him a shout out because, MAC representative, Mid-American Conference, came from Kent State. So I'll give him a shout out on that one. But overall, man, I would not say he was a Hall of Fame candidate. I mean, we got to quit disrespecting the guys that are in the Hall of Fame right now. I mean, those are some of the guys that, like you said, you can't write the history of the NFL without placing those guys in there. I mean, are we really going to say that Julian Edelman was on the level of a Randy Moss or even a guy like Drew Pearson, who had to wait so long to get into the National Football League, who I believe it was a much better receiver than Julian Edelman. I mean, there's countless examples of wide receivers who put up better numbers than Julian Edelman. Yes, his playoff stats are immaculate. They're immaculate. I think he's second to only Jerry Rice in all the major receiving categories when it comes to the playoffs. But that's kind of a longevity thing. I mean, he's played in over 20 playoff games. So it's kind of like you have a select few guys that have played in that many playoff games that kind of can put up those type of numbers. But like I said, I mean, he has a great story. He's a hard competitor. I mean, I went against him a couple times, and he's one of those guys. He loves to chat. He loves to just talk and chit chat the whole game. He kind of gets under your skin, and he's a tough guy. I mean, I always remember that hit he took from Cam Chancellor in the Super Bowl over the middle. It was head on. Wow.
Yes.
And Cam Chancellor, as we know, is probably one of the most hard-hitting safeties the NFL has ever had. And he ate that. He ate that hit and kept stumbling forward for a little bit and then fell. So he's a tough, gritty competitor. But that always doesn't translate to being a Hall of Fame player. I think he was a great player. I mean, a good player overall. If there was a Hall of Good, he would definitely be in there. But a Hall of Fame, I just can't put him that far. He had a great career, but not a Hall of Fame career. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. He can still put his hat on his career because he had a heck of a long career. Most players don't even play as long as he had. So he had a great career, but Hall of Fame worthy, I'm going to have to pass on that one.
Okay, so you bring up Drew Pearson. And Drew Pearson is the guy who was first team all-decade 1970s. He and the great Lynn Swann were the two guys at wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And I looked over at Julian Edelman and said, okay, at some point in time, was Julian Edelman all-decade? Because these are some of the things that you throw in there. Because obviously, he was a part of 3 Super Bowl teams, and he was a Super Bowl MVP. Oh, by the way, he got busted for steroids, had to miss 4 games. Let's not forget about that. But Julian Edelman was not a part of the all-decade team for the 2010s. Your 2010s wide receivers, here they are. Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Megatron, Calvin Johnson, and Julio Jones. He's not in that category, okay? Julian Edelman ain't in that category. That's what we're talking about when you talk about Hall of Fame wide receivers, and we just saw Megatron is getting in. Megatron and Drew Pearson are the same class for 2021. Julian Edelman's not that. Stop it. He's not Antonio Brown. Okay, we're talking about guys who were all-pro receivers and Pro Bowl receivers year in and year out. Julian Edelman wasn't that guy. Julian Edelman was a fantastic piece to the New England Patriots and what they did. And he deserves to be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. But this man should not be in Canton. I'm sorry he went to Kent State. That's right down the road from Canton. But the only way he gets in is to go see Tom Brady get inducted. But Julian Edelman is not that. He's not that. People, my buddy Tom Curran over at NBC Sports Ball said, well, look at what he did, the great playoff games he had. That's all good and dandy, but that's not Hall of Fame. And we've got too many guys who are legitimate Hall of Famers who can't find a way in. You know, Roger Craig. Well, Roger Craig was a running back. Roger Craig was a heck of a running back. And here's a guy that was your first 1,000-yard receiver and 1,000-yard running back, and everybody's looking for that dude today. Roger Craig was doing that when it was still more of a running league, and when they were passing, they weren't passing the ball to the running backs as weapons like that. I mean, now you're running back. If you're not a weapon and you can't catch the football, man, nobody wants you on their teams anymore. So this is a guy who can't get into the Hall of Fame right now. So when I look at Julian Edelman, I say, no, Hines Ward was a Super Bowl MVP with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hines Ward's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I don't have an issue that Hines isn't, but I'm just saying, man, there's other dudes that we can sit up here and talk about and say, hey, man, is he a better player? Is he a better player than Steve Smith, Anquan Bolden, or Andre Johnson when they played? Nah, man, he was a part of a really good winning culture and did his part to help that culture win. But that doesn't translate to Hall of Fame, man. I'm sorry.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think, I know he put up numbers in that New England system, but do you think he could put up those even close to those numbers anywhere else? Like, if you think he's strictly a system receiver, like, do you think he can just go to the Cleveland Browns and put up those same type of numbers?
Look, Wes Welker was a guy who was in Miami, and Wes Welker didn't. He was just a guy. He goes to New England, and Wes Welker becomes a really good football player. And then he ended up going to Denver and was a part of that 600-point team the Broncos had that went to the Super Bowl, and Peyton Manning was the unanimous MVP, throwing 55 touchdowns that year. But they got obliterated in the Super Bowl when they lost 48-13. So here's a guy who played with two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, who had two of their greatest seasons of all time, and he was a part of those teams. When Brady was the MVP and threw for 50, Wes Welker was on that team. But Wes Welker was, in my opinion, you were a part of the system. You know, Wes Welker was a great player, but yes, Peyton Manning was there. But guess what? You know what? Peyton Manning played and made a lot of other receivers look good too. So to me, Wes Welker was he was just a guy who fit that system. Danny Amendola was replaced. Okay, that was the Wes Welker replacement. Danny Amendola ended up catching some touchdown passes in the Super Bowl and being a part of some Super Bowl teams. Went to Detroit. What did he do in Detroit for Matt Patricia? Nothing. He was just a guy.
Not a damn thing.
It's 12, man. And what did we just see this year? 12 left the building. Where are the Patriots?
They're in the basement at the AFC East right now. They're in the basement, trying to climb their way back up.
And I'm going to ask you this. Do all those guys in New England who opted out, do they opt out if Tom Brady is the quarterback?
Highly doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Exactly. How many guys in Tampa Bay did you see opt out when they found out Tom Brady was their quarterback? Dudes like,
they was in. They was all in on that.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and risk that thing.
It was all in.
So, you know, and it's Tom Brady has excelled in making slot guys look good. And Peyton Manning did the same thing. Who's the little dude from Tampa Bay, the slot receiver that caught the big touchdown pass right before halftime?
Oh, Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller, yeah. Bowling Green, another MAC representative.
Okay, Tom Brady makes those guys look good. Danny Amendola was a guy the Cowboys had in camp and cut. Okay? Danny Amendola started with the Cowboys, then ended up going to Philadelphia, didn't work out there, ended up with St. Louis, and then he went to the New England Patriots. What did we see along his career? What did he pop? He got with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady.
As soon as he left, he folded up. As soon as he left, he fell off a cliff. So I mean, all those receivers that you need, they're definitely system guys. And nothing against Edelman and Amendola and those guys because they had great careers. But when you're a system guy, if you're not that guy that defense is focused on and put all their efforts towards you, and you still torch them like a Randy Moss was able to do, I can't sit here and say that you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Definitely not a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I'm not sure who'll ever get in. So for me, that's the toll for me. That's the bar for me. If you can be that guy on an offense, no matter the system, if you can be that guy and still put up numbers, even though you're getting all the focus of every defense on you, then you could be worthy of a Hall of Fame career. But Edelman, he had a great one, just not a Hall of Fame one.
I'll go back to another receiver that Tom Brady really found a way to have success with and was a Super Bowl MVP. That was Deion Branch. And Deion Branch got to the point where he got in a contract dispute with the Patriots, and they ended up sending him to Seattle. And guess what? It didn't work out. He wasn't that guy without Tom Brady. He wasn't. And then he ended up going back to New England. So to me, that's how I see these guys. Tom Brady won a lot of Super Bowls with a lot of dudes. That we saw, hey, man, it was the quarterback. And one of the best things Tom Brady ever did in his career was make that move to Tampa Bay, so people aren't sitting around here anymore saying, well, was it Belichick, was it Brady, or was it they were both each other? Nah, it was Tom Brady. Give Tom Brady his due as the greatest quarterback of all time. And if you don't want to make him great, definitely put him in your top three. But this guy truly showed you what a difference he can make in an organization when you do things the way he wants to do. He loved what he had in Julian Edelman, and he looked at Scotty Miller and said, I think you could do some of the same things. He loved what he had at Deion Branch. Deion Branch said they didn't want to pay. That's when they got Wes Welker, and they started rolling from there, and they kept it going. It's the system, man. Mm-hmm. Julian Edelman is a product of the system. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a great player. He should be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. That's my take on it.
I agree 100%. I agree 100% with you, man.
All right, bud, that's 1 hour, man. We didn't even get to Justin Fields. Let me just add this about Justin Fields. He's got his pro day today. Charlie Casserly, former Washington and Houston GM. By the way, he was the Houston GM, took David Carr with the number 1 pick in the draft. He said Justin Fields was going to go 24. That's what Charlie Casserly modeled. 24.
But why? What makes him like? I don't understand. Like, what makes like why? I just don't understand it at all. You think he's going to drop that far with as much need as some teams have for the quarterback position? You think he's going to drop all the way to 24? You think there's 24 better prospects or 23 better prospects in this draft than Justin Fields? I mean, we're talking about the quarterback position. That's the most important position in the National Football League. Is the quarterback. They have the ball each and every down. They make the offense go. And you think that type of talent is going to drop all the way to 24th? I mean, we've seen it happen with an Aaron Rodgers who dropped to 22nd, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening, at all.
So here's where when I was watching it, I just kind of laughed to myself. And for him to drop to 24 to the Steelers means that Washington at 19 and the Bears at 20 would have passed on Justin Fields. And there's no way.
New England at 15?
True.
I mean,
So those are 3 fits. Those are 3 fits right there that you and I see. I just don't see it happening. Chicago was willing to give up 3 number 1 picks to go get Russell Wilson. They're desperate to find a quarterback. Yeah, they signed Andy Dalton on a $10 million 1-year deal. But these guys' jobs, the GM and the head coach, their jobs could be in the balance if they can't make a playoff run this year. You get a guy like Justin Fields, now you're able to use the good old excuse. Well, he was young. Well, we see him coming. We can help develop him. That's why I just laughed when I saw what Charlie Casserly put out there for his mock draft that Fields falls to 24. There are too many football teams out there that will go ahead and take this guy way before 24.
It's got to be clickbait, man. There's no way he seriously thinks that guy's going to drop all the way down to 24. I mean, there's just no way. Like you said, with all those teams out there that are in need of a quarterback and have that built-in excuse, like, yeah, he's young, so I need another year with him. Another year we'll be better with him. I just can't see him going all the way to 24th. I mean, look what happened when Aaron Rodgers went to 22nd. You think all those teams ahead of him that passed up on him didn't wish that they had a chance at him again? So I don't think that'll happen again. I think he just was clickbaiting.
And I didn't even add in the Raiders. I mean, John Gruden is not going to pass Justin Fields.
You already seen the turmoil over there. Yeah, I mean, there's just no way. There's just no way.
All right, so Charlie Casserly, I just shake my head. So, yeah, this is the same guy who said that Derek Carr was a great player. It was number 1 pick and didn't give the kid anything at all. And, yeah, he ended up his career as a backup quarterback. So, hey, that's the Players Lounge. We appreciate it. Please tell a friend out there about the podcast. Thank you so much for checking us out. He's Barry Church, former Dallas Cowboys safety. Our other running buddy, Danny McCray. He's out. Danny will be back in May. Our producer, Chris Beam, who does an excellent job. We appreciate you, Chris, man. You're a master at what you do. I'm Newy Scruggs. We'll check you out next Friday, 11:30 Central, right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this?